class. Today we're going to be talking about percent bar graphs. A percent bar graph displays categorical data based on the percentages. Or the relative frequency. It can be found by, number one, calculating the percent of each category, and two, representing each percent with a bar on a number line. And below here, we can kind of see an example of what that looks like. So Morton Middle School took a survey to determine which new electives should be added to the class offerings. The results are shown below. And so we have debate, drama, and badminton that they found the percentages of. And so what I recommend that you do is before you start looking at your questions, go ahead and figure out the percent for each one. For example, from 0 to 30, it's pretty obvious that that would be the percent. And so you would just write it above there. Okay, on drama, a lot of times if you're not careful, you'll see it stops here and you'll write 50%, which really isn't the case. It starts at 30% and it ends at 50%. So I need to do 50 minus 30, which gives me 20%. You could also, if you wanted to, count from here to here, which is 10, and then another 10 to here. 10 plus 10 would also give you 20%. And then the last one starts at 50. It ends at 100%. So 100% minus 50% gives you 50%. And again, if it's easier for you to do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, you would still get the same thing. So now that we have those listed, let's look at the first question. What percent of students chose debate? Well, we said 30%. What percent chose drama? We said 20%. And the percentage for badminton would be 50%. So the next question becomes, if 300 students were surveyed, then how many chose drama? Well, I need the percentage for drama, and that's 20. So I'm going to put my 20 over 100. Remember, percents are always over 100. And then I'm going to look at my total students. Remember, the other part is a part-whole relationship, and the whole amount of students would be, or the total would be 300. And I'm looking for this right here. Again, as of yet, the last lesson that we talked about, we can actually cross multiply and divide. Or I can find my scale factor because I noticed that relationship from 100 to 300 is multiplied by 3, which is really a lot easier if we recognize it. And then the top would be the same for the numerator times 3. So 20 times 3x would have to be 60 students. The next one is if 300 students were surveyed, then how many chose badminton? Well, badminton is pretty easy because it's 50% of 300. A lot of you can do that in your head, but I'm going to go ahead and write 50% over 100 and my 300 here. Again, my scale factor is multiplying by 3, which is also for the top. 50 times 3. If you need to do the math, you're welcome to. That would be 150 students. Okay, there's a second part of the lesson today that looks like this. Go ahead and get that sheet ready. On this one, it says Mr. Gomez surveyed all of his 6th grade classmates about their favorite pizza topping. Use the table below to sketch a percent bar graph and answer the questions. So now they've given us each category and how many students chose that, but then we have to create our own bar graph. So let's look at the first one. Before I can do anything, I need a total students. So if you'll stop the video and go ahead and do the total. Okay, if you added all of those up, your total students should be 240. Now that's an important number because I need it to be able to calculate the percentages. So let's go ahead and do cheese first. So cheese, 60 students out of 240 chose that. And I want to know what percent that is. Now I can do it a couple of ways. I can do what we've been doing, cross multiply and divide. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. 6,000 divided by 240. If I divide by 10 on both of those, it's like dropping a zero. So really I'm dividing 24 into 600. And 24 goes into 60. What, 2 times would be 48. That leaves 12, and I'm going to put down that 0. And 24 goes into 125 times to finish that out. So I've found that cheese pizza would be 25%. Now, I can also do it another way. I could, if I wanted to, on this one. If I didn't want to do it this way, I could also do it 60 over 240. Cancel my zeros by dividing by 10 and reducing that by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 24 divided by 6 is 4. And if you know your benchmark fractions, which we've studied, it would be 25%. So either one of those is correct. Remember, there's more than one way usually to solve something. So whichever is more comfortable. And then we're going to go ahead and do the pepperoni. I'm going to put 132 over the total of 240 students surveyed. I'm going to go at my 100, looking for that percent, and I'm going to go ahead and cross multiply and divide. So I have 132, add to my zeros, divided by 240. Again, divide by 10 drops a 0. I need 24 into 132, which should be 5 times, I believe. 5 times 4 is 20, carry 2. Okay, and if I subtract this and bring down my 0, I'm at 120. And 24 goes into 25 times. That is 120. So the percent for pepperoni is 55. Next is hamburger. Hamburger is 36 out of 240 total. Again, I could divide that by 6 if I want to, or I can go ahead and do it this way. I'm looking for that number at the top. So again, 36 two zeros divided by 24. 24 goes into 240. My bad. I'm going to drop the 0. It's 24 into 360. That goes once. Bring down that 0. I recognize that from here. That goes 5 times, which is 120. So hamburger would be 15%. I'm going to go back and write it here. And then veggie, I can solve that one too. But remember, this has to total 100. I can tell by looking at that this is going to be 95%. This probably will be 5%, but I'm going to go ahead and test it to see. I've got 12 over 240 total. So that's 2,400 divided by 12. 200, I did it again. 240. Sorry, guys. I messed up on that one. I'm thinking ahead. Let's try that again. 1200 divided by 240. If I drop that 0, 24 into that goes 5 times. And that is 5%. So now we have our total percentages at the top, and we can actually go and create this percent bar graph. So I know that cheese is 25%. So I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to draw a line at 25%, and I'm going to write cheese here. Pepperoni is 55%. So from 25 to 30 gives me 5%. And then I need 50 more. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So here would be my pepperoni. Hamburger is 15%. So that would be 10 to get to 90. 95 would be 15%. That's my hamburger. And the last one is 5%, which would be 95 to 100. And that's the veggie. So now that we have that percent bar graph, we can answer the following questions. On my paper, this moved up. These are really your answer boxes. So this one actually goes here. I'm not sure if yours looks this way, but I need you to go ahead and answer the question. Over 50% of the sixth graders chose cheese pizza as their favorite. Go ahead and put in true or false. And if we look at cheese pizza, it was only 25%. So is that over 50%? No, that's false. The second question is exactly 6% of the sixth graders chose veggie pizza. Well, we know veggie pizza is 5%, so that would also be false. And the last one, pepperoni and veggie pizza represent less than 60% of your favorite pizza toppings. So pepperoni was 55. In fact, I sometimes like to write it above it. Veggie is 5. When I add those, I get 60%, but it says less than. So that would have to be also false. Again, today, guys, if you didn't understand something, reach out to your teachers. We're here to help you. Again, through Schoology, Dojo, or email. You guys have a great day.